The 11th of November 2023. Give Me More is the name of this video. It's a good bright morning here in rural Ireland, and you're welcome to the channel again. In Ireland you have the main newspapers. There's one in Cork, the Irish Examiner, which is, or it used to be the Cork Examiner. There's the Independent, Irish Independent, and the Irish Press. No, sorry, the Irish Times in Dublin, and the Evening Herald. There's a few national papers, and then in the local areas you have newspapers such as the Anglo-Celt, the Dundalk Democrat, the Meath Chronicle, and then you have the Leinster Leader, which would take try to have a wider readership in the province of Leinster, and also Connacht in a province. So you have local papers. But anyway, some of these papers go back 150 years. I think the Anglo-Celt in Cavan is 150 years. And definitely there was a Dundalk Democrat in 1935, I know that. So without going into it in big detail, there are established newspapers. And there are also the newspapers of record. In other words, that if a law says that something has to be published in a newspaper circulating in the locality, well, you're always sure if you pick one of those old established newspapers, where if you put it in some other recent publication like the Trader's Manual or something, that might not be acceptable in a court. So they have an advantage, those established newspapers, but that doesn't mean they couldn't be challenged in some way. However, the fact is the market is saturated in Ireland, and the established papers are getting it hard to get by and get readers at all in the age of the internet. Now, about 25 years ago, a trend emerged where everyone wanted to own a newspaper. In the County Cavan, one of the famous people was Captain James Kelly, who was involved in the arms trial with C.J. Haughey, the Taoiseach, and he was a former army officer. And there was an arms importation thing. But anyway, he founded his own paper after he left all that, called the Cavan Leader. I'm nearly sure it was the Cavan Leader. It was the Cavan Leader, I'm nearly sure. But anyway, he founded this paper, and but it was all his own propaganda. There was very little real news in it, and it became tiresome with the one-old nationalist story all the time, and it died out, fizzled out. Now then there came a big heap of papers in Wicklow and Cavan and Tipperary and Cork and everywhere, and they usually had the name Echo or Voice in it. Now in Cavan there was the Cavan Echo and the Cavan Voice at least, and there was some of them come out at the same time, and it seemed to be a fashion where people thought, I'll start up a newspaper, I won't have to work in a shop or drive in a lorry or a bus anymore, and I'll run this newspaper, and I'll do a real good job, and also I'll get a little editorial in it, and I'll be able to push my own agenda a bit. So it's a bit like if I founded a newspaper for my area and all around, and hope people would buy it and put in a bit of reading by others. The fact of the matter is, whinging about windmills and pylons would soon fade away, and you wouldn't get them sold. They wouldn't make the price of delivering them or printing them. In any event, that was the story, and they were nearly always printed away somewhere, away off somewhere else. Sometimes abroad in Scotland and places like that, and they had to get them in. But one of the things happened in the County Cavan, and I'm sure everywhere else, was that the editors or the owners, whoever was in charge, got this bright idea that they needed volume, they needed quantity. The more you had in it, the better, irrespective of whether it was gibberish or whether it was useless. And our useless information that was already in the main newspapers. And this happened with the Cavan, it wasn't the Echo was gone now. Cavan Voice, was it the Cavan Voice, I think, or the Echo, I'm not too sure, but I knew a journalist, a good journalist, who left a job with a mainstream paper, mistakenly thinking that this was the future. And this is a thing I make a lot of issue of. A lot of what appears to be the future is not the future. A lot of it is not the future and will never be the future. I mean, the Americans claimed they went to the moon in 1969 and walked around it for 6 missions. They have never gone back. So there's not much of a future in that. You see? And so I say the same with energy. I know how this stuff has crippled the economies of Europe, and it's not the future either. But it gets to be the fashion, and it's hard to kick it out. But the thing is, they wanted all these stuff, and editors found that they originally was 20 pages. No, we want 25. Now we want 30. And editors already struggling to fit, and not only editors but journalists struggling to fill the newspaper with material, couldn't get the material. And every week they got a call, or every month, I want the number of pages increased from 30 to 32. They'd increase to 32, and then they'd increase it to 34, and they were sent lads out with cameras, and it nearly got to the stage where they'd go into the doctor's surgery and take your picture and ask you, would it be all right to put it in, Mary Jane McCracken, I have a sore toe and I'm in here with the doctor. That's how silly it got, picturing dogs, cats and everything else, until it drove the journalists out of the tree with frustration at the sheer ignorance of the management that just wanted more and more trash and thought that was going to be how they were going to compete. It wasn't a pleasant experience, and they all fell through. I don't know what became of the owners, of the editors, and I don't think it was too good. If anyone knows, post here under. What absolute ignoramuses they were. What absolutely ignoramuses they were. And in many walks of life, in private and public, you can find your boss, as they say. And I'm not all against bosses. There are a lot of good bosses. The boss is like a nappy. He's always on your arse, and he's always full of crap. So sometimes that's the case, but it's not very fair to all bosses. A lot of them are good. But the thing about it is, whether it's public or private, if they're the wrong sort, you'll find, or anyone gets a job in them, and I keep harping this, people wonder why I'm talking about careers. Well, it's very important if you're a young person, or if you're a parent and your child is trying to choose a career. Why can't I tell the pitfalls? Why can't I? With all the public service and all. So in a lot of those public professions, the boss wants more and more and more. So if he's a Garda superintendent and he wants promotion, and the guard goes out and he gets 4 people drinking on the pub, and he gets 6 with no insurance, and he done a good day and he has to process all that. Oh no, I want that doubled. There you are, you can do it when you want to. Give me 12 next time. And he finds he has to go out and try and get 12. He manages it with a big struggle. He comes back in. Now, there you are, you can do it. 24. And this is the target setting ignoramuses that there are. And the same in many other professions. It's in teaching as well. Lucky enough, the church has still a grip on the teaching to keep some of this stuff out. It can be in private companies as well. And a typical example was the banks. They're still at it. But when the Northern Bank was at its height, it was pressurizing staff, very decent people, and they had to ask you, will you take an insurance? So they said, get some of the clients to buy insurance policies. And you knew the poor old devil selling it to you was under pressure, and still you didn't want to take out an insurance policy. And the banks kept pushing them till life became intolerable. And it is still the case with some banks in Ireland and beyond. Just give us more, get more, doesn't matter how you get it. They bring in regulators, that helps a bit. The banks and the staff and the private organisations and the public organisations frightened at the existence of a regulator, but then over time it becomes apparent there's no such thing as a regulator. Certainly in Ireland there is no regulator. They don't work. I test them. You might as well. They're absolutely useless. So you get the point. So what I'm getting at about choosing careers, there's a big mistake that the people hiring do the inquiry of the interviewee, the person they're interviewing. The interviewee should interview the company. Are you up to the job? If I go in and give a good performance and do my best and do a good job for your company, will you treat me correctly? In half the times, the answer might be yes. But in half the times, and I'm picking that as a ballpark percentage, the answer will be, we'll tell you we will, but when we get you in, we'll use you, we'll buy a saddle, we'll ride you around the room because you're fit to bloody do the work, and we'll horse you to do it. If you're good in the army and there's certain jobs you can do, they'll throw it to you. If you're a good policeman, they'll throw you every old case there is. Their pets won't be able to do it. There'll be some young girl comes in and says she was abused by an adult, and they'll give it to her. Oh, Vanguard, oh, she'll do it. And she'll make a mare's arse of it. She won't ask the right questions, and the thing's not fit. And then they'll turn around and they'll give it to some other sensible person, man or woman, who knows how to do it and will do it well, and then do it right. But that's all they'll use them for. In the end of the day, the bad boss will never change. Serving or placating or doing what's wanted is never acknowledged. Whether it be a company, whether it be a hardware shop, whether it be a bank, a hospital, or anything else. It's the bosses you have to watch, particularly now that there's a market when you have the option to get other jobs. But in many jobs, you have pensions and all that, and leaving is not easy. It can have huge implications. And for state jobs with pensions, you could lose all of your pension by having to go and be constructively dismissed by bad leaders who do this. And they could be dead and having written something on you, and you're still, the existing management will go by what they said. You get my point now? So these are the pitfalls to watch for. Give me more, give me more, give me more. 24 pages, 25 pages, 26, 26, 28, 30, like an auctioneer. 30, 32, 32, 34, 34, 30, 36, 36, 38, 40, 40 pages. Good job. Now we'll move on. 42. And they're out trying to get material about some old thing or other that nobody has any interest in. And when they watch when they watch the newspaper, they won't be able to find what they're interested in with gibberish. It's the same with the Irish social media. Those who are anonymous and those which are not, they just completely build up topics, repeat, duplicate. So when you go into them and want to see something about whatever it may be, you can't find it. There's 50 or 60 threads on the same subject. And the lad sitting that owns it thinks he's a great fella. Look at all the new topics I have, and nobody can find anything. This is quite a normal procedure. It's one to be identified. It's one to see. You won't get it happening in a cattle mart because it wouldn't last. You won't get it happening in many areas in auctioneering and many things. And you won't get it happening in many private businesses selling concrete and selling sand and all that. Usually somewhere where they have a blank check from the government or whatever. And then of course we have the government itself. We have the Green Party. You get this, you get that. We want to do away with your cars. Now we want to take the fireplaces off you. And then we want to stop you eating meat. And now you have to eat maggots. You have to eat insects. You have to teach your children at school to eat insects to stop eating meat. And that happened in a school in County Meath, where the female teacher came in all full of woke and produced the insects to the kids and got them to eat the daddy long legs out of a matchbox. That is the harsh reality of the situation. Long enough video. Thumbs up or thumbs down. We'll see you back for something else. Thank you.